Echoes of Epsilon. Silence was different in space. It wasn't the absence of sound. It was a presence, a density that seemed to breathe, slow and deep, as if the universe itself had a pulse. Ethan Cole stared into that vast darkness from the window of his ship, Helios 9, as the gravity fold behind him collapsed into nothing. The jump, 21 light-years, had taken less than 10 minutes. On the other side of reality, Earth was now just an idea, too far away to feel real. The scanners flickered with static, then stabilized. A planet appeared in the feed. Blue oceans, shifting clouds, glimmers of aurora in its upper atmosphere. Epsilon. He drew in a slow breath. Mission Epsilon initiated, he whispered into his recorder. Undercover protocol, level 3. Cover identity, independent explorer, presumed lost. Objective, indefinite observation. His own voice sounded like someone else's. He turned the recorder off, then looked at the small, worn photograph taped beside the console. A woman's smile frozen in another lifetime. Someone who'd existed before the wars, before the missions that didn't come back. He pressed the photo between his fingers until the paper nearly tore. "Don't repeat the same mistakes," he muttered. The descent began. Epsilon's atmosphere wrapped around the ship with surprising gentleness, almost like an embrace. From above, the world glowed. Cobalt seas, forests of faint light, mountains crowned with gold mist. 2 suns hovered on the horizon, chasing each other across the sky. It was beautiful. Too beautiful to be safe. Hours later, the ship staged its crash landing near a coastal ridge, part of the cover story. Ethan powered everything down and stepped outside. The sand beneath his boots shimmered like ground metal. The wind carried a strange electric hum, as if every grain of dust resonated at a different frequency. He walked inland, pretending to be lost. By dusk, or whatever passed for dusk under twin suns, he found them. Or perhaps they found him. 3 figures emerged through the haze. Humanoid, but not quite human. Their skin had a faint translucence, and their eyes reflected the sky like liquid silver. The one in the center studied him calmly. "You are not from here," she said. The voice didn't reach his ears. It arrived directly in his thoughts. Ethan forced his pulse to steady. "I'm a traveler," he said aloud. "My ship malfunctioned during orbit." "And you survived re-entry?" Her tone was soft, almost amused. "That's rare luck." She introduced herself as Lyra Saren, a scientist from Epsilon's Institute of Neural Resonance. She offered to take him to a nearby station for treatment. He nodded, pretending gratitude. Every movement was calculation, watching the guards' weapons, the devices at their belts, the rhythm of their steps. Different, yes, but familiar. Too familiar. That was what scared him. In the following days, he remained under medical observation. Lyra visited often, curious about the blue world with one sun. "It must feel strange," she said one evening, standing by the window. "Here, the day never really ends. One sun rises as the other sleeps. Light and shadow always exist together." There was something in her voice that disarmed him. A kind of peace that didn't belong to a scientist or a spy. Ethan kept his cover, but part of him faltered. She didn't act like an enemy. And when their eyes met, something unspoken passed between them. Not recognition, but something dangerously close. She showed him the laboratories, the core of Epsilon's research. They were studying resonant communication, a kind of neural field that allowed thoughts and emotions to travel without words. "It's how we evolved," Lyra explained. "Our energy connects through frequency. When minds align, they share truth, without the distortion of language." He listened, skeptical yet fascinated. Then she said quietly, "Would you like to experience it?" He hesitated. "It's safe," she assured. just a brief synchronization. The moment their minds touched, his body froze. Light, water, a child's laughter. Then, her. Standing in a ruined glass chamber, crying. When it ended, both were pale. Lyra stepped back, visibly shaken. "That shouldn't have happened," she whispered. "Human minds aren't supposed to sink that deeply." That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. The planet's air itself seemed to whisper through the walls, carrying a distant melody that stirred something inside him. He opened his private recorder, hidden within the seams of his uniform, and spoke quietly. "Contact established. Population biologically compatible. Technology level, near parity. Military presence confirmed at poles and orbit. Risk assessment, high potential for hostility." He hesitated. His thumb hovered over the send switch. Lyra's face flickered in his mind, that look she'd given him when she spoke about the dying auroras of her world. He pressed send anyway. A single invisible signal rose into the dark sky, crossing the void between two civilizations that had just begun to fear each other. Days became weeks. Ethan's reports grew shorter, his excuses longer. He told himself it was strategy, to gain trust. But he knew the truth. He had stopped seeing her as part of the mission. One night, she took him to a cliff that overlooked a bioluminescent sea. The wind there sang, weaving through the rock's narrow cracks like an instrument. "This place is sacred," she said. "We call it the Observatory of Echoes. When two minds synchronize here, their resonance lingers, even across the stars." "That sounds dangerous," he joked weakly. "Only if you have something to hide." The wind swept around them. The frequency filled the air. He felt her presence, not beside him, but within him. Memories not his own flashed through his mind. Childhood, loss, longing. "You carry too much pain," she whispered. "And you don't?" he asked. "Here, pain belongs to everyone. We feel it together. You humans, you hide it." He couldn't answer, so he kissed her instead. The sound of the wind stopped, as if even the planet had paused to listen. But silence never lasts. 2 days later, everything changed. They were recalibrating orbital sensors when an alert appeared on Lyra's console. An unauthorized transmission. She tried to trace it. Ethan didn't have to. He recognized the code instantly. Earth Command. He read the decrypted message over her shoulder. Tactical preparation in progress. Confirmed threat from Epsilon. Preemptive strike authorized. Awaiting target coordinates. His blood turned to ice. "They're going to attack," he whispered. "Who?" Lyra asked, confused. "My people. Earth." "Why?" "Because they think you're about to attack them. We were only trying to protect ourselves. They won't believe that." Her silver eyes filled with tears. So this is how it ends, with both sides fearing their own reflection. He didn't answer, because she was right. That night, they decided to act. Together, they broke into the planetary communication core, the place where every signal could reach beyond the suns. "If we link our fields," she said, "they won't just hear us, they'll feel us." "Feel us?" "Yes. Emotions, intent, resonance. If they feel there's no hatred here, maybe it stops." He hesitated. Opening himself like that, exposing his mind, violated every code he'd ever sworn to. But rules didn't matter anymore. They held hands. Light erupted around them, waves of color folding through the sky, rising beyond orbit. For the first time, humans and Epsilons shared the same frequency. On Earth, the generals froze. On Epsilon, the defense grids powered down. For a few hours there was peace. Lyra smiled faintly, exhausted. "See? They understood." Ethan looked at the twin suns crossing the horizon. "For now," he said. "Sometimes she whispered, resting her forehead against his. For now is all the universe gives. He believed her. For one fragile moment, he believed everything might be okay. But the universe has never been kind to those who love across the void. Peace lasted exactly as long as a held breath. 2 days after the transmission that united two worlds, the universe exhaled, and the message arrived. It didn't come through open channels. It slid in quietly, coded and cold, straight into the hidden receiver embedded in Ethan's wrist. He excused himself from the terrace where Lyra stood watching the twin suns drift apart. Down a narrow corridor lined with glass, he activated the transmission. The screen lit up not with light, but with a chill. United Earth Command, priority, Dawn Agent Cole, confirmation received. Interaction with subject Lyra S. was a strategic operation orchestrated by Epsilon's directorate. Objective: manipulate your emotional state to halt Earth's defensive response. Evidence: falsified civilian records, synchronized neural patterns, cross-linked satellite logs. Offensive capabilities of Epsilon remain undisclosed. Protocol: extract immediately. Do not confront the subject. The message ended like a blade pulled from the sheath. Swift, final. For a long time, Ethan just stood there, hands buried in his pockets so they wouldn't shake. The part of him that had once believed in orders stirred awake. Follow protocol. Go home. Another part, the one that had learned to listen to the quiet between two suns, whispered something else. When he returned to the terrace, Lyra didn't ask what had changed. She could feel it in the air. What is it? A message, he said too calmly. Something I need to check in the bay. I'll be quick. Then I'll come with you. No. It came out sharper than intended. Earth protocol. She studied him, silver eyes narrowing slightly. Be careful with the things you choose not to say, she murmured. Silence can agree with the very fear you're trying to escape. He almost smiled, a reflex of loss before it even happened. The maintenance bay was carved from translucent steel, the ocean visible through the walls in dancing blue patterns. Ethan pulled up the station system logs. There it was. Her name, Lyra Saren, linked to a set of temporary access clearances issued by the Directorate 3 weeks before their accidental meeting. The next file, a record of their neural synchronizations, each one aligned perfectly with the activation windows of Epsilon's orbiting relay satellites. And the third, her identity file, with entire sections overwritten in a single instant. As if someone had pasted new pages into an old diary. The evidence was clean. Too clean. He stared until the numbers blurred. Maybe it was all true. Maybe none of it mattered. He felt her presence before she spoke. You didn't trust me enough to ask, Lyra said from the doorway. He turned. She was calm. Too calm. She stepped closer, saw the data on the screen, and didn't flinch. Those are Directorate authorizations, she said quietly. They assign them to every scientist working on resonance programs. It doesn't mean you should have told me. Told you what? That my government monitors its own people? That I was part of an experiment I never agreed to? He gestured at the logs. 3 weeks before we met, Lyra. 3. Your clearances were created the day they started monitoring my arrival vector. I didn't know. And the satellites syncing exactly when our minds touched. Coincidence? Maybe. Maybe not. The system records every resonance it detects. He laughed once, not bitter, just tired. So we were data points. Maybe at first, she whispered. But not now. She took another step toward him, close enough for him to feel the warmth of her skin. Do you want a confession written in stone? I don't have one. All I have is what we lived. A world afraid, a woman trying to believe, a man who reminded her what truth feels like. If that was strategy, then love is just another weapon, and I'm guilty. He closed his eyes. Earth whispered return. Epsilon whispered listen. His heart whispered stay. They ordered me to leave, he said. And yet you're still here. Not for long. Then take this, she said softly, sliding a translucent ring from her wrist. The crystal caught both suns in its curve. It's a resonance band. It keeps a faint connection. Not with thoughts, only with warmth. It heats when you're near something true. It chills when you're near fear. It's imperfect, like us. And if I'm near you, it'll hurt and soothe at the same time. She smiled. A fragile, beautiful lie. Or maybe the last truth left. Goodbye, Ethan. He wanted to say until, but the word died halfway out. He boarded the ship. Departure was silent. From orbit, Epsilon looked smaller than he remembered. Just another blue world, pretending to be harmless. When the jump engines ignited, the resonance ring on his wrist went cold. He didn't speak during debriefing. The generals did the talking. Long sentences built from fear and pride. You confirm the subject manipulated your emotional state to delay the strike? I confirm that I felt what I felt. That's not the question, Agent Cole. He looked through the mirrored glass where they hid their faces. Then note this. The world is more complicated than your questions. They gave him quarters in the lunar base Selene, a place without sun or sky, only stone and repetition. The official term was reintegration. He called it silence. Earth postponed the attack. Epsilon did the same. Two civilizations stared at each other across the dark, afraid to blink first. Each night, Ethan laid the resonance ring beside the old photograph on his desk. At first it stayed cold. Then one evening, without reason, it warmed, faintly, like hands remembering how to touch. He didn't know if it meant anything. He only knew he could breathe again. Weeks passed. One morning, a colonel summoned him to a narrow observation room. They've built something, the man said, projecting a hologram above the table. A vast luminous structure circled Epsilon, a glowing ring, slowly rotating, alive with energy. A weapon? Ethan asked. Maybe, maybe not. We call it the halo. It's transmitting on fluctuating frequencies, organic patterns. Ethan leaned closer. The vibrations from the hologram formed a pulse that felt almost human. What if it's not a weapon? He murmured. Then what is it? A call. Maybe they're trying to heal the planet. Maybe they're trying to reach someone. The colonel arched a brow. Reach who? Me. He didn't mean to say it aloud. That night, he returned to his quarters. He couldn't stop hearing it, the low hum beneath every system's noise, the rhythm inside the silence. When he finally accessed the restricted comm logs, he found it. A narrowband transmission hidden within the halo's signal. A voice buried in static, repeating his name over and over. Lyra's voice. It was faint, broken by interference, but it was hers. He didn't ask for permission this time. He stole a patrol craft and set a course back to Epsilon. The jump was rough. When the stars reassembled around him, Epsilon glowed ahead, and the halo dominated its orbit, a living crown of light. He maneuvered closer, weaving through arcs of energy until he found an opening, a narrow rift between two beams. Against every instinct, he entered. Inside, silence reigned. The light was liquid, the air thick with vibration. At the center hovered a sphere, pulsing like a heartbeat. Lyra, he whispered. If you're here, I came because I don't know what else to believe. The sphere brightened. Her voice filled the cabin, not through speakers, but through him. I knew you would come. Her figure took shape in the glow, translucent, woven from light and memory. Is this real? Reality is just resonance, Ethan. I'm part of the halo now. I built it to stop them, both of them. When I realized what the Directorate planned, I merged my field with the system. It was the only way. You sacrificed yourself. I became the bridge. Someone had to. He swallowed hard. Earth thinks this halo is a weapon. Maybe it is. It depends on the hands that use it. The light around her began to tremble. They're coming, she said softly. Both fleets. When they see this, they'll panic. They'll fire. Tell me how to stop it. You can't stop fear, Ethan, but you can refuse to echo it. The halo's pulse quickened. Outside, 2 armadas emerged from the void, one blue, one silver, mirrors of each other. This is how it always ends, Lyra whispered. 2 reflections, too afraid to see they're the same. The energy surged, his instruments screamed. Lyra, the field's collapsing. Then listen, remember the silence. That's where love hides. Light swallowed everything. When he woke, space was empty. The halo was gone. Only a faint aurora lingered, drifting across Epsilon's orbit like the ghost of an idea. Earth Command's voice crackled through the comm. Agent Cole, respond. The structure disintegrated. No hostile fire detected. Mission status, stable. Return to base. He didn't answer. He just stared at the spot where she had been, where 2 suns now glowed behind the planet like a heartbeat made of light. The official report would later read, Mutual neutralization of orbital forces. Cessation of hostilities declared. Status, indefinite observation. No one mentioned Lyra Saren. No one asked what the halo truly was. Back on Selene, the ring sat on his desk, cold again, lifeless. Until one night, while he was watching Earth rise beyond the lunar horizon, it warmed. Not much. Just enough to remind him that warmth still existed. He closed his eyes. Her voice came faintly, inside his mind, gentle as breath. Silence is an absence, Ethan. It's the place where love hides to survive. He didn't know if it was memory, hallucination, or something real. It didn't matter. Because belief, he realized, was its own kind of gravity. Months later, he saw something move against the black. A single spark drifting away from Epsilon, small and steady, tracing a line toward the moon. It entered Selene's thin atmosphere and broke apart, a rain of luminous dust scattering across the base's dome. The resonance ring burned warm against his skin. He smiled. No message, no proof, just light, and the echo of her voice inside the quiet of his chest. If this was a plan, he whispered, it was the most beautiful one the cosmos ever wrote. Outside, the stars kept their silence, and somewhere, between 2 suns, the universe listened. The end. Echoes of Epsilon.